The night was cold, dark and strangely quiet. The river moved like a black snake under the moonlight, its waves hitting the rocks with angry sounds. On the riverbank, a young alien woman named Lyra lay in the dirt. She could not move her legs. Her breath came out in small, weak gasps. She did not know why her family brought her here at this late hour, but she could feel something bad in the air. She could feel fear rising in her chest, heavy and painful. Her older brother, Varek, stood behind her with a hard face. Her mother did not look at her at all. Lyra tried to lift her head, but her body felt heavy and cold. "Why? Why are we here?" she whispered. Her voice was thin, like a dry leaf blowing in the wind. No one answered. Instead, Varek grabbed her arms and pulled her toward the water. Lyra's heart jumped in terror. She tried to resist, but her paralyzed legs dragged uselessly behind her, making her body scrape against the rough ground. She cried out, begging them to stop, but her family did not even slow down. They walked with emotionless faces, like people finishing a job they did not care about. "You are a burden," her brother said quietly, his voice empty. "You bring shame," her mother added, still not looking at her. Lyra felt her chest squeeze painfully. She had heard these words before, but never like this. Never with such cold finality. She tried to hold onto the grass, digging her nails into the dirt, but her brother pulled harder. The river roared louder as they came close. Lyra's heart thumped fast. She could not stop shaking. She knew what was going to happen. She knew they had not brought her here for help. They had brought her here to disappear. "Please, don't," she whispered. "I will be good. I will try harder." But her words only disappeared into the night air. Her mother stepped back. Her brother lifted her without care, as if she weighed nothing. Lyra screamed, but her voice broke halfway. Then, with one hard push, he threw her into the river. The icy water hit her like 1,000 sharp needles. Her breath vanished instantly. The current pulled her down. She tried to move her legs, but they did not respond. She sank fast, water filling her mouth and nose. She felt the cold grabbing her body, dragging her deeper. Above the river, a human man named Ethan walked along the old wooden bridge, carrying a small backpack. He was tired from traveling all day. He wanted nothing but a warm fire and a quiet place to rest. But suddenly, he heard something, a faint cry carried by the wind. He stopped and listened again. Another cry. Weak, desperate, drowning. Ethan leaned over the side of the bridge. For a second he saw nothing. Then he saw movement, a shape sinking under the dark waves. His heartbeat jumped. He dropped his backpack and ran off the bridge toward the riverbank. Without thinking twice, he tore off his jacket and jumped into the freezing water. The cold stabbed his chest, but he pushed forward with strong strokes. He saw her sinking, her arms rising weakly, her eyes wide with terror. Ethan grabbed her wrist and pulled her up with force. She coughed and gasped, her body shaking violently. "Stay with me," Ethan shouted, fighting the current. Lyra's eyes barely focused on him. A human, someone she had been taught to fear, was holding her, saving her, refusing to let her drown. Ethan dragged her through the water until they reached the shore. He pulled her onto the grass and checked her breathing, his hands trembling from the cold. The night was silent again. But everything had changed. And Lyra was finally safe, at least for now. Lyra lay on the wet grass, coughing weakly as water dripped from her hair and clothes. Her skin was pale, almost blue. Ethan, still shaking from the cold river, knelt beside her and placed his jacket around her shoulders. He tried to stay calm, but his heart was racing. He had pulled many people out of danger before, but never someone like her, an alien woman with strange markings on her skin and fear in her eyes. "Hey, you're safe," Ethan said gently. "You can breathe now. I won't let anything happen to you." Lyra blinked slowly. Her vision was blurry, and her chest hurt from swallowing so much water. When she finally found her voice, it was only a whisper. Why? Why did you save me? The question surprised Ethan. Because you needed help, he said. Anyone would. Lyra shook her head weakly. No. No one in my world would. Her words made Ethan's eyebrows pull together. He helped her sit up, careful not to hurt her. He noticed her legs thin, unmoving, not reacting at all. She tried to touch them, but her hand shook too much. Ethan spoke softly. You can't move your legs? Lyra hesitated, then nodded with shame. Since I was a child, she whispered. That is why they... She stopped, her voice breaking. Ethan waited patiently. He didn't push her. Finally, tears filled her eyes. My family threw me in, she said. They said I was useless. Broken. Ethan's heart tightened. He could not understand how anyone, any species, could do something so cruel. He placed a careful hand on her shoulder. Listen, whatever they said, whatever they did, you did not deserve that. No one does. Lyra stared at him. Humans were known for being loud, aggressive, and unpredictable. At least, that was what she had been taught. Yet this human was calm, gentle, and warm, nothing like the stories. A soft breeze passed over them, but the night still felt cold. Ethan needed to get her warm fast. I'm taking you somewhere safe, he said. You need heat, food, and rest. Lyra panicked slightly. No, they will come back. If they see you with me, they will hurt you. Ethan smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile, it was a confident one. Let them try. I don't walk away from someone who needs help. Lyra lowered her gaze. She had never heard words like that before. Not from family, not from neighbors, not from anyone. Ethan carefully lifted her into his arms. She was like too light. It felt like she had not eaten properly for days. Her head rested against his chest as he carried her through the dark path toward his small camp hidden behind the trees. As they walked, Ethan asked quietly, "What's your name?" "Lyra," she whispered. "That's a beautiful name," he replied. "I'm Ethan." She repeated it slowly under her breath, as if learning a new sound. Then, for the first time, she felt something unfamiliar: comfort, safety, hope. When they reached the camp, Ethan placed her near the fire he quickly built. The flames warmed her cold skin, and she closed her eyes with relief. Ethan used a blanket from his pack to cover her fully. She watched him move around, checking her breathing, drying her hair, making sure she was warm enough. "Why are you being so kind?" "To me?" she asked softly. Ethan looked at her with steady eyes. "Because kindness is free. And because whoever tried to hurt you doesn't get to decide your worth." Lyra felt a sudden sting in her chest, not pain but emotion. No one had ever said such words to her. As the fire crackled and the night grew quieter, Lyra realized something important. The river did not end her life. It brought her to the one person who actually wanted to save it. And for the first time in a long, lonely life, she felt like she mattered. The night slowly faded, and a soft gray morning rose over the river. The fire in Ethan's small camp burned low, giving a warm glow around Lyra's resting body. She lay wrapped in a thick blanket, her breathing calm now. For the first time in years, she had slept without fear of someone shouting at her or dragging her from her bed. Her face looked peaceful, almost innocent. Ethan sat nearby, sharpening a small knife and watching the forest quietly. His clothes were still damp from the river, and the cold wind bit at his skin, but he didn't care. He kept glancing at Lyra, making sure she was still warm. Something inside him felt protective, stronger than he expected. He had saved strangers before, but this felt different. This woman had no one. She had been thrown away like trash. He couldn't imagine leaving her alone now. But danger was closer than he realized. Deep in the forest, footsteps moved quickly. Angry voices whispered. A group of aliens carrying spears and torches pushed through the trees. At the front walked Varric, Lyra's brother. His face was hard with anger and confusion. He had returned to the river that morning to make sure she had drowned. But when he saw the footprints leading away and the signs of struggle, he knew someone had intervened, and he was furious. Back at the camp, Lyra slowly opened her eyes. For a moment she didn't know where she was. Then she saw Ethan beside the fire and remembered everything: the river, the cold, the rescue. Her chest tightened, not from fear this time, but from something warm and confusing. Before she could speak, Ethan held out a small wooden cup. "Drink," he said gently. "It's warm broth. It will help." Lyra took it with shaky hands. She sipped slowly, and the warmth spread through her body. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel safe. But that moment ended suddenly. A sharp snapping sound echoed through the forest. Ethan stood up instantly. His eyes narrowed. He moved between Lyra and the sound, gripping his knife. "Stay behind me," he whispered. Lyra's heart dropped. She recognized that sound. Her breath went weak. "Ethan." They came back. Branches parted, and Varric stepped into the clearing with 5 other aliens behind him. Their expressions were cold, almost cruel. The moment Varric's eyes fell on Lyra, he froze, shock flashing across his face. She was alive. Alive because of the human. Ethan took one step forward, blocking Lyra completely. Varric pointed at her. "Human. That woman belongs to us. Hand her over." Ethan didn't move. "Belongs?" he repeated. "She isn't an object. She isn't yours. She is our problem," Varric snapped. "She brings shame to our family. She has no right to live among others." Lyra's hands shook, but she whispered, "Please, don't fight. They will kill you." Ethan didn't look back. "Lyra, I'm not afraid of them." One of the aliens raised his spear. "Move, human. We will take her, and you will forget what you saw." Ethan tightened his grip on the knife. His voice stayed calm but strong. "No, you won't touch her again." The forest went silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. Varric stepped closer, anger boiling in his eyes. "Why do you care? She is broken, worthless. She cannot walk. Saving her was pointless." Ethan took another step forward, closing the distance. "You threw her into a river. You tried to kill your own sister. The only worthless thing here is your heart." The aliens growled. Tension filled the air. Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. No one, not once in her life, had spoken for her. No one had stood between her and danger. But this human, someone she had known for barely a night, was willing to risk everything. Her voice trembled. "Ethan, please, don't get hurt." He finally looked back, and his expression softened for a moment. "I won't," he said, "because I won't let them take you." The alien group tightened their circle. The fight for Lyra had begun. The forest grew tense, as if every tree was watching the confrontation. Ethan stood tall in front of Lyra, gripping his knife tightly. The aliens circled them, their bodies stiff with anger. Lyra clutched the blanket around her, her heart beating so fast it hurt. She knew her brother. He was cruel, stubborn, and he did not forgive failure. If he saw her alive now, he would stop at nothing to finish what he started. Varric's eyes burned with hatred. "Move, human," he said slowly. "You do not understand our laws." Ethan shook his head. "I understand enough. Throwing someone helpless into a river is not a law. It's murder." For a moment, no one moved. The air felt heavy, almost ready to explode. Then one alien lunged forward with his spear. Ethan dodged quickly and hit the alien's hand, making the weapon fall. The alien hissed in pain. That small victory gave Ethan only seconds. "Lyra," he whispered sharply. "Hold on to me." Before she could think, Ethan grabbed her in his arms. She gasped as he lifted her, and then he ran fast right through a gap between two trees. The aliens shouted behind them, voices filled with rage. Ethan ran over roots, rocks, and thick leaves. Lyra held onto him tightly, terrified he would fall. His breath came out rough and fast, but he didn't slow down. His muscles screamed, but he kept running. Her life depended on it. "They are following us," Lyra whispered, shaking. She could hear feet pounding behind them. Leaves rustled violently. Branches snapped. The aliens were faster and knew the forest better. "I know," Ethan said breathlessly. "But I won't let them take you." Lyra looked at his face, sweat, focus, determination. She had never seen anyone fight for her like this. She felt safe and scared at the same time. The forest grew darker as they entered deeper places where sunlight barely reached. Ethan nearly slipped several times, but he held her tightly. He didn't care if he fell or got hurt. He only cared about keeping her away from the monsters chasing them. Then, something whistled through the air. A spear struck a tree beside Ethan, barely missing his shoulder. The sound made Lyra cry out. "They're close," she whispered in panic. Ethan tightened his jaw. "I know. Hold on." He turned sharply to the right and jumped over a fallen log. The aliens followed, shouting orders to each other. "We should leave her to die," one of them shouted. "She brings shame," another yelled. Ethan's anger surged. "Don't listen to them," he told Lyra. "Their words don't define you." Her eyes filled with tears. No one had ever told her that. Suddenly, the ground ahead opened into a steep slope covered in leaves. Ethan didn't hesitate. He slid down the slope with Lyra in his arms. Dirt and leaves flew everywhere. When they reached the bottom, Ethan used a tree trunk to stop himself. But the aliens were at the top of the slope, shouting down at them. "They will see us," Lyra whispered. "Not if we move," Ethan said. He carried her deeper until they reached a narrow path hidden by thick bushes. He pushed through them, letting branches scratch his arms and face. Anything was better than letting her fall into their hands again. For a few minutes, the forest grew silent. Only Ethan's heavy breathing and Lyra's quiet whimpers filled the air. It seemed they had lost their pursuers, at least for the moment. Ethan stopped beside a fallen tree and gently set Lyra down. His chest was heaving. "Are you okay?" Lyra asked, her voice small. Ethan nodded, wiping sweat from his forehead. "I'm fine. You're safe for now." Lyra looked at him, her heart filled with a strange warmth. Why do you care so much?" Ethan sat beside her, still catching his breath. "Because someone has to. You've been alone for too long." Lyra lowered her eyes, her emotions so strong they almost hurt. But the moment of quiet did not last. A distant shout echoed through the forest. "They found our tracks," Ethan said, standing up again. "We need to keep moving." Lyra swallowed hard and reached her arms toward him. Ethan lifted her once more. Together, they disappeared deeper into the wild forest, running toward a hope Lyra never believed she could have. Ethan moved through the forest with Lyra in his arms, following faint paths only he recognized. The trees slowly thinned, and sunlight leaked through the leaves, warming their cold skin. Lyra felt tired but safe, her head resting against Ethan's chest. She could hear his heartbeat steady, strong, comforting. She had never felt such safety from anyone before. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "To my village," Ethan replied. "Humans live there. You'll be safe." Lyra's eyes widened. "But humans dislike aliens." Ethan shook his head. Not my people. They judge by actions, not appearance. Lyra wanted to believe him, but fear held her heart tightly. What if the humans hated her like her own family did? What if they saw her paralyzed body and threw her out too? Her mind filled with doubt, but Ethan's arms around her kept her from sinking into fear. After another long walk, they reached the edge of the forest. Down the hill lay a small human village, wooden homes, smoke rising from chimneys, children laughing in the distance, and elders sitting outside weaving baskets. It felt peaceful. Too peaceful for someone like her. When Ethan stepped out of the trees, carrying a strange alien woman, the villagers immediately noticed. They paused their work. Some stood up. Some stepped back. Some whispered. Ethan raised his voice. Everyone, this is Lyra. She needs help. She is injured and has no home. Lyra felt her heart pounding. The humans stared at her blue skin, the strange patterns on her arms, her limp legs. She wanted to hide her face, but she could not lift her hands fast enough. She braced herself for hateful words. But what happened next shocked her. An older human woman stepped forward. She wore a brown shawl and had warm eyes. She looked at Lyra gently and asked Ethan, "Is she hurt badly?" "Her legs don't move," Ethan said softly. "And she's exhausted." The older woman nodded and motioned toward her house. "Bring her inside. She needs food and warmth." Lyra stared at her in disbelief. The woman smiled. "You are safe here, child." For a moment, Lyra felt her throat tighten. She had never heard those words from anyone except Ethan. Ethan carried her into the warm house. The older woman placed blankets near the fire and handed Lyra a bowl of warm soup. Lyra held the bowl carefully. Her fingers trembled with hunger. The first sip made her eyes water. She ate slowly, savoring each moment. She could not remember the last time anyone fed her gently. Humans began to gather near the door, peeking inside with curiosity, not hatred. A few children stared at her with big eyes, fascinated by her glowing skin patterns. "Is she magic?" one child whispered. Ethan laughed softly. "No, she's just different. That's all." Lyra lowered her eyes, shy but touched. After some time, one of the villagers approached Ethan quietly. Who did this to her? Why was she alone? Ethan's jaw tightened. Her family. They tried to drown her. Gasps filled the room. The older woman shook her head sadly. "How can a family be so cruel?" Lyra whispered, "Because I cannot walk. They say I am a curse." The villagers exchanged looks of disbelief and anger, not at her, but at those who hurt her. "You're not a curse," a young woman said firmly. "You're alive. That's what matters." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She could not understand this kindness. Why were strangers caring for her when her own family didn't? Later, when the crowd thinned, Ethan sat beside her. "How do you feel now?" Lyra looked at him, her voice trembling. "Safe. For the first time in my life." Ethan smiled. "Good, because I'm not letting anyone take you away." Lyra felt something warm bloom in her chest, something she never expected to feel again. Hope, but deep in her heart, she also knew something else. Her family would not stop searching. And the peace of this village would soon be tested. Morning light filled the human village with warmth, but Lyra felt a strange heaviness in her chest. She sat near the window of the old woman's house, wrapped in a soft blanket Ethan had given her. Outside, humans walked peacefully, smiling, laughing, living in a way she had never known. She wanted to stay here forever. She wanted safety. She wanted to believe these people would always protect her. But deep inside, she knew her past was still chasing her. Ethan entered the room with a cup of warm tea. "How are your legs feeling today?" Lyra shook her head softly. "They never change." They stay the same. Ethan knelt beside her. Then we adapt. Not give up. Lyra looked at him, eyes full of quiet emotion. Ethan, thank you. For everything. Before he could reply, loud voices erupted outside shouting, angry, echoing through the village. Ethan stood up instantly, his face hardening. Lyra's body tensed. She recognized one of those voices immediately. Her blood froze. It was Varek. Ethan rushed to the door and stepped outside. Lyra pushed herself toward the doorway, pulling her blanket with her. She saw them, her family and several alien guards, standing in the middle of the village, tall and angry. They held sharp weapons and banners marked with their clan symbol. The villagers gathered around nervously. Varek pointed at Ethan with rage. Human, step aside. You stole what belongs to us. Ethan did not move. She doesn't belong to anyone. The alien guards spread out, ready for a fight. The older human woman stepped in front of them, her hands shaking but her voice strong. This is a peaceful place. Do not bring your violence here. One of the guards growled. You shelter a disgrace. Do not tell us about peace. Lyra's heart pounded painfully. She watched Ethan take a step forward, positioning himself between the aliens and the village. She is alive because of me, Ethan said. Alive because you tried to kill her. Varek's eyes shined with fury. You know nothing of our laws. She weakens our bloodline. She brings shame to our clan. She is better dead. Lyra felt her breath catch. It did not matter how many times she heard it, it always hurt. But this time, she had people standing behind her. She was not alone. The village leader, an older man with a walking stick, spoke loudly. We will not hand her over. If you have a claim, we settle this the right way through judgment. The aliens agreed reluctantly. A circle formed in the middle of the village. Villagers stood on one side. Aliens stood on the other. Lyra sat near the front, trembling as Ethan knelt beside her. Lyra, Ethan whispered, you don't have to speak if you're scared. She looked at him, tears filling her eyes. I want to speak. I must. The leader stepped forward. Let the accused speak. Let the truth be heard. Varek pointed at Ethan. He kidnapped her from our land. Loud murmurs filled the air. Ethan stepped forward calmly. I found her drowning. They threw her in. Varek snarled, lies. The leader raised his hand. Let Lyra speak. Lyra swallowed hard. Her voice was small but clear. They did throw me. I cannot walk. I cannot fight. I am nothing to them. Villagers gasped. Even some guards shifted uneasily. Lyra continued, tears rolling down her cheeks. I begged them. I begged my own family. But they did not care. They said killing me was easier. Her mother looked away. Varek clenched his fists. Ethan spoke next. Her life matters. Her disability does not make her worthless. The village leader nodded slowly. The truth is clear. He turned to Varek. You and your family are guilty of attempted murder. The girl stays here, under our protection. The aliens shouted in protest, but the villagers raised their tools, pitchforks, knives, staffs ready to defend Lyra. Varek stared at Ethan with pure hatred. This is not over, Ethan replied coldly. It is for her. Lyra closed her eyes, tears falling, but this time, they were tears of relief. For the first time in her life, justice had been on her side. For the first time, her voice had mattered. For the first time, she had a future. The village slowly returned to quiet after the tense judgment. The aliens had left with anger in their eyes. But they did not dare attack the humans, not after the entire village stood together to protect Lyra. When the last echo of their footsteps faded into the forest, a gentle peace settled over the place. It was the kind of peace Lyra had never known in her life. Ethan helped her back inside the warm house. She was shaking, not from fear now, but from exhaustion. The older woman placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You were brave," she said. "Braver than you know." Lyra lowered her head shyly. Brave, no one had ever used that word for her. Ethan sat beside her, looking tired but relieved. "It's over," he said softly. "They can't take you away now." Lyra's eyes filled with quiet tears. "I'm still scared. What if they return someday?" Ethan smiled gently. "They will find a wall of humans waiting for them. You're not alone anymore." The words warmed her heart more than the fire beside her. For the first time she believed it. Days passed. Life in the village resumed its rhythm. Children ran through the fields, merchants sold goods, and women washed clothes near the well. And in the middle of this warm, simple life, Lyra began to heal. Every morning, Ethan checked on her. He brought her warm soup, blankets, and small carved toys made by the village children. They came to see her often, sitting beside her as if she were a friend they had always known. One little girl asked, "Will you teach us your alien words someday?" Lyra smiled an expression she had forgotten how to use. "Maybe. When I learn to smile properly again." Ethan laughed softly. "You already do." Soon, Ethan began working on something special in his workshop. Lyra often watched from the window, curious. She would see wooden pieces, metal rods, small gears, and tools scattered everywhere. One day, he walked into the house with a strange object, 2 curved supports, straps, and a light metal frame. Lyra blinked in confusion. "What is that?" Ethan knelt beside her and placed the device gently on the floor. "It's for you," he said. "A walking support. I've worked on it for days." Lyra stared at it with wide eyes. "But, Ethan, I cannot walk. My legs do not move." "I know," he said softly. "But with this you can stand. You can try. Even a little progress matters." Her heart tightened painfully. No one had ever tried to help her walk. No one had even believed she deserved the chance. Ethan helped her into the support frame, lifting her carefully. Her legs trembled uselessly, but the frame held her. Lyra gasped when she felt her body rise slowly, higher than she had been in years. I'm standing," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Ethan, I'm actually standing." He steadied her gently. "Yes, Lyra, and one day I want you to walk too. Even if it's only one step. I'll help you." Lyra looked up at him, her heart full of emotions she never knew she could feel: gratitude, hope, and something deeper, warm, and steady. She felt safe with him. Safe enough to dream. As weeks passed, Lyra practiced using the walker. Children cheered every time she stood longer than before. Villagers brought her fruit, clothes, and small gifts. She became a part of them. A part of their world. One evening, Lyra sat beside Ethan under the setting sun. The sky was painted with orange and gold. Birds flew overhead, filling the air with soft sounds. "Ethan," she said quietly, "why did you save me that night? You didn't know me." Ethan looked at her with calm eyes. "Because your life mattered. Because no one deserves to be thrown away. And because I wanted to." Lyra's heart trembled. "You changed my whole world." Ethan smiled. "And you changed mine." She looked toward the peaceful village, then back at him. "Do you think I can have a real life now? A real future?" "You already do," he said. "This is your home. And we're your people." Lyra leaned her head gently against his shoulder. The river had almost taken her life that night, but it also brought her to the one person who saved it, and gave her a new one. For the first time ever, Lyra felt something she thought was impossible. She felt free.